That's what I did last time.
Okay, so Hayden's still setting up. I would like to cite Jordan Weathersby is the man behind the camera. Jordan's also a computer science student. It's a pleasure to have in class. So, thank you, Jordan. Yeah. So sometimes working with hardware can be a little finicky, especially maker grade hardware, which is, for example, Hayden is using a very specialized piece of maker hardware called the Latte Panda. Who comes up with these names, I don't know, but so it's a little finicky. But you can't see it, but he's got a little tiny monitor up here, and I'm looking at Windows 10 off of that little tiny thing. It's running?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take pleasure in presenting Hayden Wicinski, today's final capstone presentation. A reminder that tomorrow we'll begin again at 3 o'clock, and that there will be a dinner at Red Robin for the graduates, their guests, and any alumni.
Thanks. I'm Hayden Wicinski, and I've created the HSTRC, the hand signal to remote control. The original idea was thought of because I play a lot of video games, and they're hand-intensive video games. So it almost feels like I'm destroying my hands, and I'll have carpal tunnel. So I wanted to make something I could use in the future, maybe, or hopefully not. So it was an idea to give an option to those who couldn't use the normal remote. Holding something and putting pressure when you have finger pain can be pretty painful. You want to avoid that. So there's no need to pick anything up here. There's no need to press anything. All you have to do is be able to extend your fingers and hold them above a camera, and it'll automatically send a certain signal that you want. It needs to be small enough to fit on a table where someone would be watching TV and react to hand signals. So then we can send certain signals depending on what you gave it to the TV. It's not really supposed to be the huge TI-84 calculator of every single code you can imagine. It'll just support the ones that you use most often. You can turn on the TV on and off, volume up and down, channel input, stuff like that. And it stays nice and small by running on the Latte Panda. It's a Windows computer, and it's very nice for this application. The Leap device is a little box. It's quite the expensive little box with a camera in it. It's used for mostly virtual reality devices. You can control anything on your computer as long as it's plugged in, as it's designed for it. And this is what I get to. It takes a picture. If there's a hand in there, I can get data from it, the hand, basically data on each of the fingers, if it's extended or not, the position in a XYZ coordinate plane, but I didn't really use that too much. I focused on the extension or not of the fingers. Yeah, you don't need to watch the whole thing. It's all running on a Latte Panda. The neat thing is it's got a built-in Arduino, which I can run C++ code on. It's like the demo we've seen earlier, except built into the computer, which is nice. It has enough power to run the Leap, which is also important because it's a bit tasking. And with the Arduino, I have an IR LED, which can then send the signals to a TV like a normal remote. And it all does this by working in the sketch, which is what the C++ code is called for the Arduino. The main process starts as first uploading the sketch. You only have to do this once. Even if you power off and on the Arduino 100 times, it'll still just be on there. and you don't ever have to really touch that again, which is nice. And then to that, we're connecting the Leap device also to the Latte Panda. And the Leap device waits for any viable, visible hands in the area of the camera, and then sends that data back to the Latte Panda. From there, we can determine what hand signal it is and which IR signal to send from the Arduino to the TV. The main software process is as follows. It again waits for the hand, and it doesn't. If it doesn't see a hand for a while, it wouldn't really make sense to continuously poll the area, as someone's probably not watching TV that time. So it does have a different wait time for waiting for a hand until it sees one. And then when it does see one, it takes many pictures. This is to ensure accuracy, because of course a device could maybe not really fail, but put a little misinterpret the hand data, which is oftentimes seen in the pinky. Unfortunately, it's not as accurate. So in this, I run it 50 or 100 times and then take the best or the most common hand seen there. From there, we can turn a hand into usable data. It's basically binary, 5 bits. Each finger up extended is a 1. If it's down, it's a 0. And then once we have that in the form of binary, we can send that to the Arduino. And it's already set up waiting for us to do that with the sketch uploaded. The basically Arduino process is, as it's waiting, the sketch, it's loaded already. I used before I attempted to basically recreate a remote, which was not a good idea because there's no standardization between any of the brands. So doing that alone would waste way too much time. I used a IR remote library that's specifically made for the Arduino in C++, which is nice. And then through that library, I can just send any brand's code, whether that be Sony or Vizio, which is what I'm using now. The hand signals, there's 9 of them so far. On, off, volume up, down, channel up, down, input, return, and enter that I just put in for demo purposes. And I can demo after, but the reflection, you can't be afraid to ask for help because we have a great support network available. It's my roommate's TV, and my friend Mike over there helped me put together the IR because I've never done any hardware before, so it really did help things come along smoothly. And making mistakes is again part of the process, backtracking, changing old code that I had after realizing that remaking an IR remote was not really possible. It really did save a lot of time. And make sure everything is updated, because for a very long time, the Arduino IDE that just came on there, I thought it was, I didn't know that needed to be updated. How would that affect anything? Well, it did. About months of things, but good thing it didn't. Sorry, questions, there's no demo slide. But I can demo it for you here. Start the program. I don't know if everyone can see. This TV turning on. Gotta wait for it to start up. Okay, so there's a small GUI on here, but that's just, I just use that for gathering information in the beginning of my project. And if I hold the on code, hopefully it does take a bit, because I don't really know exactly, I've been working with a different TV, where the IR sensor is sending it to. See if we can hit it. It's Gotta be around. It was working a couple of seconds ago in the demo, or minutes ago in the demo. Darn technology. Oh. Oh, I gotcha. I gotcha. Troubleshooting. Okay, maybe now it'll work. Who knows? Ah, okay. See, now it turns on. And I didn't turn it. No one pressed any remote buttons. So, and I can just raise the volume by pointing my finger here, or lower it by holding these fingers. Or if I can do input, I think that's this one. If you want to just go to gaming mode or something, you don't really have to find your remote. You can just hold your hand over, and then it'll instantly go to a gaming mode. Or if you want to turn it off, you can just hold your hand over it again. If you get the right code. And turn it off. So no button pressing needed. Any questions? Yes.
Is it set up to handle multiple sized hands, or?
Yeah, there shouldn't be any change. The Leap device is basically the one that deals with the hands, and then that just tells me if the fingers are extended or not. Yes.
Can you customize?
Yeah, that's pretty easy. It's just a map in. As long as I should know this, but all the possibilities of 5 bits, and that's how many symbols you can have.
Well, there's probably one you ought to stay away from.
Yeah, there's one. I was thinking of that, but I felt like it wouldn't be appropriate. Yep.
So what's it like using the Leap API? Is there like a visualizer or a simulator or something so that you can actually see what it's...
Yeah, well, you can see what it's seeing in black and white in a different program, but there's no real way to, as you're seeing your hand, get the data at the same exact time. So
did that make debugging difficult, where you couldn't really tell what, if it wasn't working, is it the Leap's fault or is it some other?
Yeah, because as I said before, it does have a hard time doing all the hands and getting it all right with the pinky. So if I was able to maybe see which finger it wasn't correctly viewing, because if it doesn't see a finger, it just doesn't count it as a hand, I think. So it'll just wait for a viable hand.
And is it like the sensors that Kevin was talking about, where every once in a while it will just send some data? I think you said you're grabbing 50.
Yeah, well, you can request a frame whenever you want, and I think it just you can do that as fast as possible.
But it's just like you said, those 5 bits, or is there more data?
Well, there's a lot more data. There's like a huge coordinate plane on where your fingers are located and their movement and stuff. But all I needed was really, or I thought to use for the simplicity, was just the binary hand data. Yep.
So, like, does this support, like, if I have hopefully this will never happen to me, but like a misshaped finger or something, how will that affect, like, the hand gestures?
I haven't really been able to test that, but I imagine I wouldn't really know, because I don't know, really. Yep.
Could you hold up the Leap?
Yeah, this is
Won't break anything?
no, it's got a nice long cord. Just this little box. There's 3 red lights, which I imagine there's 3 cameras from different angles. And it just plugs in through USB to the computer. Yep.
So first you use the camera on the Leap to measure your hand movements and all that, but I would also assume that the camera would be useful for other types of applications. Do you think you could potentially use it as something which reports data from not only hands but other objects that the camera picks up?
Maybe. I know you can interact with like in-game objects in virtual reality, but I don't think it really has any way to interpret and distinctualize an object from a hand. That's just it's just something blocking the hand. Yep.
So there's, I understand there was some fairly sophisticated software architecture in this project.
Mm-hmm.
That something is talking to something is talking to something. Could you talk about that?
Yeah. Initially, I tried to do the whole project in just one Java application to rule them all. And unfortunately, that didn't really work out, as I would have to. There wasn't really any way to communicate to the IR LED in any meaningful way besides just turning it on and off. And an IR signal needs to be turned off extremely fast, like hundreds of times in a half a second. And I wasn't really capable of doing that. So in order to use a different library that was specifically made for the Arduino, I had to send data through a serial port, which is how the computer talks to the Arduino. And it was difficult at first, but I can just transfer from the Java application. I can get all my hand data, and then basically each signal has one meaningful value, either like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then I can just transfer that. And on the Arduino, I have a certain code I'll send based off the character that I receive from the Java application.
You've done it with multiple brands of television?
Yeah. The way to change out brands, that's all based. I tried to not obfuscate that from the Java part that was dealing with the hands. So in order to change the brand you want to, because none of them are the same, you only have to change the Arduino part. And that's simply, instead of the library object, it's like IR send. Instead of doing IR send Sony, you do IR send Vizio. And then you have to find all the IR codes on the internet and transfer them from what you see them as into a usable form for the library, which is somewhat difficult, but there's a handy application to do that.
Okay. Other questions?
Not a question, but just today I saw there's a new video game controller that's helping people with accessibility.
Oh yeah, for Microsoft, yeah.
Did you see that today?
I was wondering what they were doing. It was pretty interesting.
So it's very topical work. So
Yeah.
if there are no other questions, excellent.
Thank you.
So I'd like to thank everyone for coming. And how about a round for all of the people who presented today?